We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese.
Money, neighbor, money. Money, I know what you can I be. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, you can keep, you can even money. When you been a corrupt, in a bit there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bit there be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, neighbor. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, now do what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, I know what you can I be money. Oh, Joseph.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, you know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. This is, Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you.
Arriving in the UK from Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, or elsewhere. Start your journey with ease and comfort by choosing first-class travel service, one of UK's leading providers of premium airport transfers. Enjoy a smooth, stress-free arrival by booking your comfortable and reliable airport taxi before you arrive. With affordable rates and exceptional service, we cover all major UK airports, including Heathrow, Gatwick, Manchester, Birmingham, and many more. Wherever you land, we guarantee a seamless door-to-door experience to and from any UK airport. For your peace of mind, all our drivers are fully DBS checked and cleared, ensuring a safe and trustworthy service from the moment you arrive. Our friendly staff will meet and greet you in the airport arrival hall, assist with your luggage, and escort you to one of our luxurious vehicles. So wait no longer. We're ready to look after you from the moment you arrive in the UK. You can contact us via email info@firstclasstravelservice.co.uk, office phone +4 4195 2287 176, WhatsApp +4 479 136 0576 5 or +4 479 009 50171, or simply fill in our request, a quote form, at www.firstclasstravelservice.co.uk. Travel with confidence. Travel first class.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat section. Call us on 609-7168. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
From Paparino speaks of birth to correct each sons, where children pledge each faithful heart to guard Guyana's lands, to foil the shock of rude invaders who violate our earth, to cherish and defend forever the state that gave them birth. We'll forge a nation's mighty soul, construct a nation's fame. Freedom our everlasting goal, courage and truth our aim. Unyielding in our quest for peace, like ancient heroes brave, to strive and never cease, with strength beyond the slave. Guyana, plant of glorious virtue, faith, prosperity, joining the universal search for worldwide community. Your people must surrender and breathe. Renew our polity with one firm, never changing, great nation's unity.
Marching towards the shining future, courage high, the past is gone. Live for coming fear and counting mountain road, the sun has gone. The storm was dark and blowing, through face lightning flash and flame. On the Republic of Guyana, glorify Guyana's name. Forward, forward, youthful nation, grind with heart the husband's might. May his strength forever gratitude strive, and season be for right. From all I must pray, aspirations, all my longings only tie. Everlasting bonds around us as the fleeting years roll by. My Guyana, Eldorado, my Guyana, times unfolding and for my destiny, to redeeming lasting splendor, for the years are lost to me, and the dawning of my glory, for the long, long night is past. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past. Guyana, oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world I see washed on his strand. Pour down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury. For a sleep at morn, at noon, for measuring the crimson sunset's glow. I love thee, I love thee, I love thee. Oh, beautiful Guyana, oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world I see washed on this strand. Pour down upon the borders, pushing out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury. Asleep at morn, at noon, or measuring the crimson sunset's glow. I love thee, I love thee, I love thee, Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. Together, my comrades, we'll build a brand new Guyana, a country where all have equal opportunity. So let us begin now to show loyalty to Guyana by showing love and respect for all that it means. My brothers, my sisters, we will live and die here together. On to one people, one nation, one destiny. For harmonious living, cooperation will be forever. In work and play as we live as proud Guyanese. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. Well, it's time we said all the rich lands in the interior. Our natural resources are there in great quantity. And we will do farming and establish towns by the border. we drove off so we could live on Guyanese.
My greatest desire is to serve my country, Guyana, and sincerely help my Guyana to move along. Our government asks us to study hard and be learned, the things that will help Guyana to become strong. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free, to help develop Guyana the free.
Venus, if you will, please send a little girl for me to trail. A girl, they want the kisses in my heart. A girl with all the charms are you. Venus, make it clear. A lovely girl with sunlight in her hair. And take them right and stand up in the sky. And place them in the right for me. Venus, regardless how long that you are, yeah, surely the things I am will be too great to thought. Venus, if you do, I promise that I always will be true. I give her all the love I had to give, as long as we both shall live. Venus, regardless how long that you are, yeah, surely the things I am will be too great a thought. Venus, if you do, I promise that I always will be true. I give her all the love I had to give, as long as we both shall live. Hey, Venus, Venus, make my wish come true. Music. Saw the prophet long ago. Lady, you said you love me till the end. Well, man said, but likely you're indifferent, and I can't even be your friend. Well, if I'm really such a boy, and you don't want me anymore, ease my heart so I can love again. You were never there when I need you. You don't care where I go or what I do. So untie me, untie me, untie me, baby. Untie me. Now if you found a new love, I won't put the
Untie me! A lot of y'all want time in this country. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program of Guyana's Morning Time. It is 7 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour, and it is the 17th day of July in the year 2026. I hope you enjoyed all of the national songs and so on. That the prelude, let me call it that. I hope you enjoyed the prelude. And my own challenges. But here I am, thank God. Thanks to the ancestors. How was it yesterday? How was it last night? How are you feeling today? What make you feel optimistic about today? How did you make it to this morning? What were your challenges? What did you overcome? Did you fight a snake in your sleep? What people say when you fight a snake in your sleep is the enemy. Right? And when you dream about wedding is death. Is that a say? They say when you dream about shit is money. Right? There's about people. I don't know where the wisdom come from, but it seems as though everything is in the opposites when you're talking to old people. Anyways, what's going on? Oh, yeah. I promised yesterday morning that I was going to revisit the discussion about the Buxton market. And indeed, I will be revisiting the discussion about the Buxton market. So y'all don't worry yourself. We're going to talk about Buxton market because there are lots of things that people need to know about history. History teaches us a lot. And if we don't understand our history, then we naturally will find ourselves giving points to people who don't deserve points. Right? Giving points to people who don't deserve points. And so I'm saying to you, these people are good. Y'all forgive me. I'm saying to you that it is important to know your history. And so for those of you who are representatives of Buxton Friendship especially, I mean, when we talk about the Buxton Friendship, well, Buxton Falls NDC, it's a number of communities. I never really come to them. I think they're about 70 though. Right? If you are a representative of the Buxtonian community, the least you can do is understand the history of Buxton or any community, as a matter of fact. If you put yourself out there as representative of people, you must understand the history
All right.
of those people.
Story time, right? And I will say this before I start. Parents, talk to your children.
Yes, you must understand the history of those people if you claim that you're going to be representing them, or if you've been chosen to represent them. So understand the history of your people. So I want to recommend this morning to all of you who have an interest in Buxton and Buxton's history and are representatives of Buxton and operate in places where you need to know the history of Buxton. I want to recommend to you a book written by Brother U.C. Guyano. I checked for it on Amazon, but it wasn't there. Right? This is the cover of the book. Right? Buxton Friendship in Print and Memory by U.C. Guyano. And this book was written sometime around 2000 or 1999, because in the front of the book he has Nicole Williams, Andrea Curtin, Odysseus Lowe, Keith Austin, Theodosia Bombury, Leah Ann Cato, Ayana Austin, Tandika Boson, Geneva Higgins, and Adimi Houston. And this is the note. These resident Buxton Friendship youngsters scored 500 marks and over out of a maximum of 562 marks in the 1999 secondary school's entrance examination. Half the number attended village schools. Ayana Dover, 1998, earned 5 distinctions at the CXC examinations. Right? And so, obviously, we pay a lot of store, we give a lot of store, we pay a lot of attention about education and our people. And so I'm encouraging those of you who are leaders in this community and hope to lead this community to pay attention to education, put focus on education, right? As I usually say, education is the black man's salvation, or education in general is the poor man's salvation. You want to get out of poverty, you educate yourself. No, I didn't say academics, I say if you want to get out of poverty, you educate yourself. I've said previously that you just need to understand reading, writing, arithmetic, the 3 R's. Right? Grab a good skill and you can lift yourself out of poverty. You can actually do that. A lot of the people who were considered well-to-do or big shots or successful in Buxton Friendship in the early days weren't doctors of education or doctors of this or doctors of that. But they had a good grip of reading, writing, arithmetic. And they learned the skills. Right? They learned the skills. And the skills provided for them and their families, and they did absolutely well. Absolutely well. They educated their children became academics in many instances, and they in many instances went on and succeeded too. But what happened when the children turn to academia? When the elders get old, in many instances there were no one to there was no one to take over from the elders, continue the trade. I remember my uncle Dodgy Sam, A1 carpenter joiner, A1 carpenter joiner. He had one son, Gregory Sam, Burning as we used to call him. Borning was trained by his father, and he too was an A1 carpenter joiner. But of course, he did worthless. You all like spoil them only children, only boys, and so only girls. I like give them their own way and so on. That is not love. I will continue to say, if you allow your children to do bad things, if you allow your children to be deviant, and you embrace them, you protect them, and you defend them, even in their deviant behaviors, you don't love them. You don't love them. If you really love your children, you would want them to be the best that they can be. You want them to not only be productive members of society, but you want them to be law-abiding members of society. And you want them to have good people skills, let me say, good, the ability to interact, sociable. They must be sociable, right? But if you, you're not trying my bad for nobody good, and you ain't trying to fix your bad, then you're a poor parent. You don't love your child or children. I'm saying that, and I'm not saying it with any fear of contradiction or I don't include vex lose. Good. So let us keep focused. If you want to lead people, you must have something to offer. It can't be about self only. It can be, if I get into this NDC as chairman, vice chairman, councillor, I will be closer to power and I may be able to get some contracts. I may be able to, register business in some one of my friends or relatives' names, some one of my confidants' name, and I can bid for contracts and I will get contracts. It has to be more than that. It has to be, I have been given an opportunity to serve the people, and I will serve the people, and I will really, really do my best to improve the lot of the people. I tell people I never saw UC Quine as a rich man, never. But I also never saw him as a needy person. Even in his 100+ years, what's going on? Right? Because he has touched the lives of so many people without being corrupt, that they return the favor, I would say. They return the favor. Over the years, we benefited at the Essence Place because of the goodwill that Brother UC created. People were always, you only got to say UC, you only got to call Brother UC's name. And people were always ready and willing to contribute to whatever the cause was at the Essence Place. So all those of you are hustling to get into public office, to line your pockets and set up links and connections and so on and so forth, because you see that as your path to the goal at the end of the rainbow, y'all stop it. Stop it. Right, stop it. So there are those things I want to talk about, like I said. And let's revisit the Buxton market from the point of view of views expressed at the South Turning last, what was it, Wednesday perhaps? Right? I said, and I'm going to repeat, the chairman of the NDC spoke out of turn as far as I'm concerned, when he said that the market was closed somewhere around 1979, I think. I can't remember the exact year that he said that. When he intimated that the market was closed at some point in time, and Annandale market, quote unquote, sprung up as a result of that closure. I am saying, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I could be educated because I don't know the entire history of Buxton. Buxton market was never closed. Because of fallouts in the village, if I can call them that, neighboring communities and so on, obviously people became anxious about coming into the community. as they previously did. And so they found other sources of their supplies. And so things were slowed at the Buxton market, you know. It wasn't as a thriving market as it was, but it remained open. It remained open, it remained functional. I was born, as you all know, there's no secret. I just celebrated my 53rd birthday, so I was born in 1973. And I remember as a youngster running around the community, going to the Buxton market to get supplies. I remember my primary school years going to the Buxton market to get supplies. Cousin Gwenny, the fish section, I see they're talking in the launch about dedicated sections. Buxton market had dedicated sections. The fish section was at the back of the market. Right now, the back of the market is immediately west of the current Buxton Falls NDC office. Right now, I think they're doing some kind of payments under there, or registration for cash grant or something like that. So they're doing something related to government business under there. I don't know if they're registering for cash grant, if they're paying out cash grant, if they're paying out the pensioners travel grant, but something is happening there. So any of you go into that place, the Buxton Falls NDC office, when you look right, you're going to see a little shed extended there. That was the fish section of the market. I remember Gwenny, I think that was her name, Cousin Gwenny. Because them days, we couldn't call people full mouth. Cousin Gwenny used to sell fish there. And one of the fish I remember going there to buy was Sijakas. Right? Sijakas. Right? Sijakas or Sidanki. Y'all remember Sijakas or Sidanki? Sidanki had a big bone on the head section, right? Powerful meat. I used to like it in Bonsugar. Powerful fish. Sijakas. I can't even last Sijakas. Good. But we used to go at the back there to buy fish. And I'm telling you, that was in the 80s. That was definitely in the 80s. I found it, Brother UC's book. I didn't have much time to peruse it. Right? Eulogy for Gwenny Eiffel. Eulogy for Gwenny Eiffel. And there's a particular way, a particular section that I think I wanted to focus on. Gwendolyn followed in the footsteps of her mother, who was herself a fishmonger. Her selling colleagues at the Buxton market, so I'm going to get some names here. Her selling colleagues at the Buxton market included the late Ivy Benjamin, Ketchur Pilu, Elaine Primo, Beryl Punch, and the lone survivor is May Phillips. Of course, that is when this book was written. Right? That is when this book was written. At one period, she was the sole supplier of cheap fish to the residents of Buxton and Friendship. For her, it was important that fish found its way into everyone's pot, a fact that many of us took advantage of and can therefore attest to crediting Miss Gwenny's fish and even owing her to her last deed. Gwenny Eiffel died in 1997 and did not come out of that Buxton market as a fish vendor until she really started to get down in health. And I don't think it was 10 years prior to her death. So even if we give her 10 years prior to her death as the exit time for the market, Gwenny Eiffel was in Buxton market selling fish up to 1987. Right? Like I said, I can't remember who the other fish vendors were, but there were at least 3 women at the back there who used to sell fish. I know that for a fact. So there's up to about, let me say 1987, 1997. But let me continue. In that market, Linda Sanko, Linda is always on this live. And Linda Sanko, you can perhaps type for us and tell us when you left the Buxton market. Linda Sanko, the mother of Shakamingo, what's Shaka name? Shakamingo, Court Sanko. They had another brother who died not so long ago, I think. I remember she had a daughter named Philip or Philip, whichever one. But Linda and her children used to be in that Buxton market. As soon as you go into that big gate area there, when I went to do the when I went to show you guys the turning, I gave a brief tour of the market. I was showing you where Linda Sanko operated what I want to call a snacket. You could go and get fish and bake. You could go and get black pudding and whatever else she sold there, pulori and so on and so forth. Linda Sanko, them Sanko as box, people like say, operated a stall there. At Troy, right, thank you, Shelley. And right next to Linda, because these memories are coming back to me, right next to Linda, I think them Andrews at the stand. I can't remember if they were before Linda or after Linda. Them Andrews at a stall there. Right? Joy Andrews was the last of the Andrews, I think, who operated that stall there. And so if any of them Andrews here, they could tell you when they left that market. It couldn't be in the 70s. I'm telling you. Right? Joy Andrews was in that market up to the 90s at least. Until she constructed that place right by the middle street there, like top of middle street. Good. But let me continue in terms of the continuity of Buxton market. Carl Sobers, I think his name is. He is Carly Webster. Or Cops. You see where Priya, if you saw Priya was talking about the 3 vendors in this market and patches $100 store or whatever. Carl Sobers or Webster, as we call it. As we call him. Is the man who controlled that section there. He had a shop there. Because he was overseas based and he used to bring stuff. Not about well, you see, Dennis Booker representing them Bookers because them Bookers started it. Them Marshall, who I think is related to them Booker, them had Stalin there. Now it coming back. Them Marshall, Boots Marshall, I think we used to call him, right? They had Stalin. I'm skipping because I can't go through the years chronologically. But I just want to establish that Buxton market continued to operate throughout the years, never stopped functioning. It deteriorated, the building became dilapidated, but Buxtonians continued to operate around and within that market space. So I'm telling you about Webster. Webster lived overseas. And I don't know if it is while he was preparing to come back home because he was a frequent traveler, basically, always in the enterprise. Webster started a business right away that patches signers as an overseas-based Buxtonian. And this I'm telling you is the 2000s, right? Then we had, who could remember Dennis Major? Dennis Major, not overseas-based Buxtonian, came and was investing in meat boards, as we call it, broiler, among other things. And Dennis Major started a butcher shop in Buxton Market. Dennis Major had a butchery in Buxton Market. And that wasn't in the 70s and 80s. That was the 90s and 2000s. Jean Campbell, as we say, God rest her soul. No, it wasn't Major Scazip. Dennis Major was a different Major. Major Scazip, that Major is from Upper East Coast, Golden Grove, Nabaclis, Aslington, Victoria side. Right? The Major was from that side. But this Major, as I know, is Buxtonian. This Major is a man who had bought, y'all know Buxton had cinema? Buxton had a cinema down Church of God Road. I'm trying to remember the exact name. And the people them who owned it. But Major bought that land there and was attempting to construct an apartment building. But because he did not take advice, professional advice, he ended up in problems. Because my uncle, Doddridge, was his friend. And when he started construction and he started constructing these big beams, Doddridge told him, Doddridge was a mason, but Doddridge was a carpenter, joiner. Doddridge told him, he said, Major, them beams are too big. Your foundation gonna crack. Them beams gonna crack. They can't support the building. And he did not pay advice to that. He didn't pay attention to that. He went ahead and he did what he did. And for years, that building was left there, unoccupied, and basically didn't go further because they had to wait for it to perhaps really settle, and then maybe rectify the cracks and so on and so forth. That building is down there now. Major is dead. That building is there now. I don't know if it is his sons or daughters or relatives or whoever are continuing to do some work around it. I think it appears as though they're creating 2 apartments at the lower level, the ground floor now, and then maybe they will continue to work. Right? But Major had a butcher shop in the Buxton market into the 2000s. But I was telling you about Jean Campbell, God rest her soul. Jean Campbell operated right by the door, the big door, the entrance to the market, until her dying days. Jean Campbell, you used to go there and you used to get fresh vegetables, and she was the greens lady, as you would say. You want 2 borer, run and go by Jean Campbell and buy 2 borer and put it in this chow mein. When she couldn't source her supplies in Buxton, she used to travel to Starbuck Market and Border Market, and so in the night, you know, people just go in the night and buy the thing and come back for sale in the morning. That was Jean Campbell. Right? After Jean Campbell got down, as we like to say, her son Jack. Don't ask me right name. All we know he is Jack. Jack took over from his mother. Jack took over from his mother. And Jack remained in that market up to at most 15, at most 10 years ago. Right? At most 10 years ago. Like I said, Raquel and Dennis, y'all don't beat me up. Y'all should be helping to tell the story about Buxton Market. Because I don't know it all. I'm yet a young man. Little boy. Right? I can't remember all them big people around the market. I can't remember all of them. But what I'm aiming to establish and to share the fact that Buxton Market was never closed, despite all of the challenges. It continued in operation up to this day. When the crime spree took Buxton, what was that? Around 2000, following the jailbreak, the 23rd of February jailbreak. Good, we're going to talk some story about that too, because I told you I'm going to tell you how the PPP contributed to the demise of the economy of Buxton and Buxton Market. The people who operated out there, Jacqueline Campbell. Yeah, Jacqueline Campbell was out there. But look how my mouth slip and call Jacqueline Campbell name. Jacqueline Campbell operated out there. We had Jacqueline Sparman. Jacqueline Sparman was out there. Her sister Shawnette, I think Shawnette was her name. Shawnette and Barman, they were out there. They were now the breakfast people. They used to do puri and bacon, saltfish, and so on and so forth. Even now, Shawnette has a young son, Michael, popularly known around the village as Brown Sugar, who rides a carrier bike around the village, or a bike with a container, and sells the same things his mother was selling on the Buxton line top in the early 2000s when we had a jailbreak story. Right? So she was operating there. So we had Jacqueline Campbell, Jacqueline Sparma, we had Shawnette. My sister Maureen, Black Savage. Hey. Right? Black Savage operated a stall out there. She was on the sideline directly opposite the market gate. I started telling you all the story when the police came and they were searching stalls and so on and attempting to kick in the door of that particular stall, and I almost broke the foot because the structure was built for the door to open outward and they were kicking in. So the jam and everything was giving them a resistance. Right? So Marine operated out there. And this I'm telling you is during the craziness in Buxton. Jailbreak. Upheaval in Buxton, Taliban country. Right? So Marine operated out there. And so if I can argue on anything else, I can tell you that up to the 2000, maybe 2002, 2004, my sister operated around the Buxton market. Then you have new generations coming up. Barber is them Peters by Bonnie Peters and them. June Peters, who was a pump operator, a guy who was a pump operator. I think Barber would be her nephew. Right? Bonnie Peters, I think that's Scully Tashman. His brother is a vet, Dr. Michael Peters. I can't remember his name. Good. But Barber is now in that market distributing gas, cooking gas. I had a stall out there. I used to do wholesale beverages. I used to wholesale drinks out there. I had a stall out there. But even before I had a stall out there, I can remember that I am talking about me having a stall out there. Johnny, who is Fifi, them Fifi by Johnny, great-grandson, perhaps, or grandson of Mama Fifi. I think it's Gloria Fifi, grandson. So you'll be Mama Fifi, great-grandson, if I'm right. Johnny had a stall out there. Miss Jackson, who was head teacher in our community and still serves our community. She's a member of the Arundel Church, as far as I remember. I went to school with her daughter. And I'm making confessions, She has a beautiful daughter, Nandi, yes, Nandi. Nandi and I went to school together. I used to check out the girl. I used to admire her and stuff. But I was always a shy banner. And so I never really, play my card and stuff. Anyway, that was an aside. Miss Jackson has a son named their husbands. What name? I know Olini and Olani, them two is youngsters compared to the big one. That's what the big one the name, man. Come, Dennis. Come talk to me. But he was a pharmacist. Right? He was a pharmacist. Miss Jackson's son was a pharmacist, and Miss Jackson's son had a pharmacy in the Buxton market, I think up to when the crime spree was going on. And then I come to remember a boy that was murdered in this village on Christmas Day, come back from wherever he was, come back to the village to visit his mother. I think he is Phillips. Right? And he was murdered on the Buxton line top. What is the name by? Can't remember his name, but Dennis though. Dennis, help me with the name there. Carmen Phillips, I think, was his mother. Right? Cousin Carmen. O'Malley husband was the one with the O'Malley was the one with the pharmacy. But it's Miss Jackson's son. He had the pharmacy. And then right next to the pharmacy, because I think these guys were friends, there was the goldsmith shop. Y'all remember they had a goldsmith there? As a matter of fact, right where Barber, Dowdy is one of the brothers too. Dowdy is one of Miss Jackson's son too. His elder brother, I think, is the one who had the pharmacy. We're talking about right next to the pharmacy, there was a goldsmith. Right? It's what she said, Bayrow or Barrow. There was a goldsmith. And this, I'm telling you, was taking place during the crime spree. During the crime spree. So what I'm pointing out to you is that despite the fact the Buxton market had its challenges, especially in its physical infrastructure, Buxtonians continued. Buxtonians continued. Was this boy called Bayrup? Was he Bayrup? Buxtonians continued to do business around that Buxton market there. Yeah, of course, telling me it's Bayrup. Bayrup indeed. More than a Christmas Day in Buxton. Right? For what? You don't think? Well, that's what criminals do anyhow. Right, so where Barber is operating, as a matter of fact, I think Barber attempted to continue that goldsmith business right there. Because where Barber is operating is where Barber started with a barber shop in the market here. This is why it's called the barber. He started with a barber shop. And then I attempted to continue that gold business as far as I remember. He had a band we used to call Fat Man in GUYANESE, who used to come and do the goldsmith work. Right? And then Barber moved off of that gold business and thing, and he started doing gas. Started distributing gas. If you want gas, you call Barber, go right and bring it. A delivery service to cooking gas. Barber still operates in that market there. And you have Sunita. Y'all remember Sunita? No, Sunita wasn't Indian. Sunita was the daughter of Yebi. That is what me know she has. Yebi may know she has no other name. I think I might have known another name for her, but right now me never think about that name. But Yebi has a son who is Dr. Philip. Dr. Philip, I don't know his name. At least I can't remember his surname. He normally would listen to the program. So if you're up on the program, Doc, you could tell me your right name so we could get his history right. Right? But Sunita, beautiful girl. She had a beautiful sister named Anne. Yes, she had a beautiful sister named Anne. Anne was married to Papa. Papa is Frederick, right? Good. Right. Papa. Anne was the last wife of Papa as far as I remember. Anyways, we're talking about Sunita. Sunita had a stall in the market. Sunita's stall was just before my stall, and it was established long before me. Sunita used to do big grocery and other things at that stall there. If you go in there right now, you're going to see this stall. My stall was the last stall. You're going to the big gate on your right-hand side. That was where my stall was. Sunita was before that. Before Sunita was Barber.
and Barber. And then was the garden that Jean Campbell used to sit on inside. While our greens was by the market door. So I'm establishing, again, I'm reminding you, Buxton Market never closed. People continued. Now let me jump out on the roadside now. If you jump out on the roadside, you had mantle of business out there. Them same Peters had a boutique. I think a boutique kind of thing out there. I don't know if it is still functional, but they had a boutique out there. Right now, you have new generation of people vending out there. You got Peter to the end with the bar. Peter's Glenn. Asmund Glenn nephew. We don't have a name. Come now. Penny Glenn is his sister. You know where you want this information, you don't remember them? Plain Face was the daddy, man. Plain Face. Right? Whoever Glenn Plain Face was the daddy. Asmund Glenn was what we used to call a cow shit police. He was, perhaps we were constable. But hey, he was known for the use of the handcuff. You couldn't use a handcuff faster than Asmund Glenn. I tell him I said, oh. Good. So you have Peter at the end there now. And then you got, what is girl the name? Our son has a stall outside, opposite the gate of the market now. They live down back the side. But their mother had started in Buxton Market. Compton Glen was the father, yes. Thank you, Cheryl. Right, Cheryl is Asmund Picnic. Right? Good. So you had Common Man is not Wisrishi the name. They lived on Friendship through that last street where we now call Brother Terry Street. I think another brother has a stall, has a shop down in that same street on Friendship towards Brush Dam. What are the name by? Had some nice, they were thick-skinned people. Big-skinned people. They weren't fat, but anyhow, but he has a stall out there now. I'm telling you about new generation. Jacqueline's stall is now occupied by a young lady. I can't remember her name, but I know she's good. Right? Oh, Cheryl is cousin. Cousin to who? Peter. Asmund, is that you, daddy girl? Or is another Cheryl when I see it? In recent times, you had Weather had a stall selling food and so on right at Company Road to the line top. Or daughter, or is that her small sister? Up until recently was operating the same stall. They're selling food and so on and so forth. Right? So I hope that is established to you. Buxton Market never closed. Never, ever, ever, ever closed. Like I said, there were infrastructural challenges. Then there were supply challenges because of the fact that the PPP contributed to unstable conditions in Buxton. Right? And I'm going to tell you about the contribution to unstable conditions. But before I go, let me tell you, in case you didn't know, just as they were closing the ceremony inside Buxton Market for the to go outside and turn the sun, I heard a big commotion. Bram. Somebody fell. Somebody was sitting at the head table or standing at the head table fell. And my first reaction is, the ancestors are not pleased. You make joke with boxing zombie, then just knock you down when they're not pleased. That was an aside. I ain't making joke. I ain't making light of anybody's health and their situation and so on. But hey, I don't think it is coincidental. I don't think it is coincidental that on that so-called auspicious day, that day that our representatives said the PPP rescuing boxing people, rescuing boxing economy and so on, that particular day, as sorry wasn't the chairman or vice chairman, they get a thumb down. Them ancestors say, you come here and talk stupidness, badam, leg down, right? Good. You have to go over to the health center and get a doctor to tend to the person who fell. For whatever reason, the person fell. But that was my first reaction. Yeah, believe me. Yeah, believe me. The ancestors, I said the ancestors aren't pleased. You see what happened? Their boxing jump really come down. Good. So that was an aside. But let me talk to you about how, in my mind, the PPP destroyed the Buxtonian economy. Maybe starting at the market. We had our challenges. The company canal, which was a main irrigation canal, was left to deteriorate. Gaisuko had a check sluice that was controlling the inflow of water to the company canal, and of course, it wasn't within the interest of people, certain people, to see Buxton thrive, and so that canal, that check sluice was used to impact production in the Buxton Dam. Tell him I said that. Tell him I said that. Good. That was one of the ways that our farmers suffered. Buxton Dam eventually suffered production-wise. A lot of people start leaving the Dam because poor maintenance of the canal, poor maintenance of the access dams, and so on and so forth. Farming became a real difficult thing, even if you make it into farm. When it came to reaping your produce and marketing your produce, getting your produce to market, and so on, that presented its own challenge, and a lot of people, especially the older farmers, started leaving the Dam because when you reach certain age, you can't go through them kind of stress. And then because they were investing in their children's education, as their children became educated, their children decided that they wanted to do white collar and blue collar jobs. And so production waned in the Buxton Dam. But things were happening in front. Like I say, people like G used to go to border and some buy shitting and come back and sell. They had a jailbreak. 23rd of February, whichever year. They had a jailbreak. Or we call it loosely the jailbreak. But in reality, and I can't say I'm quoting because I don't want to quote the person directly. I'm sharing information that I got from a reliable source that was in the heart of dealing with that situation when it occurred, and was in the heart of it right on to maybe resolution. And like many of us always argued, why there was no jailbreak, there was a jail release. My informant told me that on that fateful day, it was prearranged for those 5 men. Those five. For those men, they can't question me for saying men. Whether it's 2, 3, or 5. It was prearranged for those men to be given free exit from the Georgetown prison, or Camp Street prison as we call it. The officer that was supposed to be on duty on that day to allow for the exit of the prison went out and he went to mash. Prison must have had a mash ban out there, or he just went out and mash. And so he wasn't at the gate when he was supposed to be at the gate. And so, based on the prior arrangements, when these men approached the gate, I think that prison officer was called Benfield. Was that her name? Woman prison officer who was shot. And the other young man who was shot, I think he died, and yes, Benfield was injured. They attempted to prevent their exit And my source tells me, right, that one of the original jailbreak five shot the two officers and he came out. Who made the prearrangement? The then Minister of Home Affairs, it is alleged, Ronald Gadraj. What were the arrangements? The arrangements were that we want a group of you. We want the group of you to be what I'm calling drug mules and enforcers for us. We will organize your release. You will travel to Colombia and you will oversee shipments to ensure that they get to Guyana. That is the information I received from my source. And so those of you in the security sector, y'all has got denial, and so y'all don't admit certain things. Right? But once they got out of the prison, with that arrangement and they eventually found themselves, quote unquote, hiding out somewhere in Buxton. There was a Buxtonian among them. A man we used to call shit. Right? You know, up to not so long ago, Douglas is his name. Andrew Douglas. Shit was among them. And it is argued that Ship brought them to Buxton because he knew Buxton and he knew where perhaps he could go and find safe haven for them. And I want you to check this one out because my source told me that it was not until about 2 weeks after that jailbreak that that group of men committed their first crime on civilians. I want you to go and check the chronology of crimes committed by them. Not until 2 weeks after they committed their first crime against civilians. What prompted them to commit those crimes or that first crime against civilians? It is alleged by my informant that in the dark of night, on a particular night, the now dead Minister of Home Affairs traveled to Buxton and met with who? Andrew Douglas. Shit. And said to him, plans have changed. Plans have changed. It's no longer Colombia as overseer for drug shipments and so on. Plans have changed. I'm imagining the conversation. Plans change, we're talking about, boss. What's the new plan? The new plan is for you to be hitmen for the government. Who y'all gonna be hitting? Y'all gonna be hitting members of the opposition? Remember Desmondite and the rest of them being on the real strong opposition against the PPP. So fire, more fire, and all kind of fire, and so on. I think the plans changed to the assassination of people in the opposition camp, and maybe some people the government couldn't get along with, or some people in the government couldn't get along with. That was the change of plans. It is reported that Shep told Gadraj, Banner, the arrangement was, and we come out, we in this thing for make money, not for kill nobody. We ain't killing. We come out there for make money. And so since there was loggerhead between the masterminds and the minions, obviously the minions were no longer getting support from the masterminds. And 2 weeks after they escaped, they decided, "Boy, we got eat. We got eat. These people got we on the run now." And the first crime was committed against civilians. As we say, put in your pipe and smoke it. Buxton was never the same after that quote-unquote jailbreak. Because Buxton Friendship now became a staging ground for criminality. As those people started, as I would say, opposing the government or government operatives who sold them a dream, obviously, he had a lot of collateral damage. Obviously, eventually they became gun sahaya. And let me make this clarification, or let me make this interjection, and this is based on my own reasoning. And that reasoning is supported by some, what should I call it? Myths or legends. Pay attention again. The escapees did not become as crazy and callous as they became until after the murder of Andrew Douglas, aka Shit. Because Shit held his position. We ain't come out here to kill people. We come out here on an arrangement for make money. And if we can't make the money or the way these people say they promise us to make the money, then we gonna do other things to make the money. But we ain't come out here for kill people. And so there were disagreements among them. And they quietly took Shit to a place wherever they took Shit to, and they killed him. And one among them became, as I would say, the gang leader. By that time, according to my source, the Buxton gang had teamed up with a gang west of Buxton. Buxton gang had teamed up with a gang west of Buxton. And so they were expanding their operation, if you call it that. But let me don't go down into all of that details. But I'm showing you how it is. The actions of the PPP brought a group of criminals into Buxton. And that group of criminals, they behave and so on. The constant confrontation between them and the security services, security forces, and Phantom Gang, led by allegedly Roger Khan and others. So made Buxton an unstable place. And so even in their quest to make money to survive, the suppliers that were customarily coming to the communities to bring stuff to vendors, the wholesale suppliers who were coming in here with their trucks and so on, a couple of them got robbed. And obviously, like the Strait of Hormuz or Hormuz, whichever, when you start getting attacked as a supplier, what you do? You pull out. And so those supply trucks stopped coming to Buxton. It means that the vendors and shopkeepers and so on in Buxton were now being affected and impacted because their supplies weren't readily available. They had to go in search of it. It means that their operating costs went up. And so they had to sell to residents in this community at higher prices. And given the little that people are earning, everybody tries to stretch a dollar. And so if things are costly in Buxton, and we could go to Annandale and save a $20 or $40, some people would prefer to go to Annandale and save a $20 or $40 because they got to stretch the little income that they have. And of course, these things take on a snowballing impact. And so the Buxtonian community suffered in more ways than one. In more ways than one. But while all of this was taking place, the PPP was in government, right? The NDC was led by several chairpersons and councillors that were not PPP. In fact, not until recent, maybe 2020 or thereabout, did the PPP win the Buxton Falls NDC. All the years prior to that, there were different, what I would say, configurations of PNC people. PNC One Guyana and all of is that the name? Something, right? PNC people were in control of the NDC. And in the typical fashion of the PPP, once we don't control the NDC, then we don't support the work program of the NDC. We do the very basic, the very minimum. So some chairpersons that I remember the NDC over the years, Mayhema was PNC, of course. After Mayhema, I can't remember who became chairman after Mayhema. But I know this boy Blocks. Right? Blocks. Is what Blocks' right name again? We can't one another so much for him in this village that when you really want the right name, you don't get it. Derek Phil. Derek Phil was chairperson. Derek Phil became chairperson because I think a group of Buxtonians, including David Jones and so on, Trevor Barrett, and others that formed the group. I can't remember the name of the group, but they formed the group and they contested the local government elections and they won. And Derek Phil was chairman. After Derek Phil was chairman, I think Anderson, what was Anderson's name? Anderson from Bachelor's Adventure. His son is the lawyer Anderson. You see Anderson's father. Oh, shoots. What Anderson the name? Anyhow, but Anderson from up that side, I think, was chairman or vice chairman at one point in time. I know he was either chairman or vice chairman in the year that Shaka Blair was killed. When Shaka Blair was murdered, Anderson, was it Eric Anderson? Might be Eric Anderson, his name is, was part of the group of us who were challenging the government on the facts of Shaka's murder, Shaka Blair's murder. So Anderson was Andy. No, we used to call him Andy because of his Anderson surname. It's not Andy name. I think he named Eric. Anyway, Anderson, who was for all intents and purposes, as far as I know, PNC man, a PNC strong man, was either vice chairman or chairman there in the period when craziness was happening in boxing, quite frankly. Shaka Blair was murdered. David Jones was chairman. And that is why I'm angry. Because David Jones, as chairman, should be aware of the many attempts, the many approaches that were made to the PPP to first and foremost do a modern, safe structure for the office of the Buxton Falls NDC. Why? Because if you look at the market structure as it is right now, the old Buxton market, you will see that upstairs there is I want to call it a room, but there's a structure at the top of the market. You have to use a step located on the northern side to get to upstairs there. That is where the overseer operated from, and the village chairman and so on, back in the time of village council. And that is where the chairman and councillors and overseer and so on operated from during the time of when the local government structure changed and you had neighborhood democratic council. That is the structure that they operated from. And so it was becoming unsafe because the building was now dilapidated, deteriorating. And so they started making approaches to the government for the government to build something that was considered safe. And the PPP consistently refused. They refused to the extent that every year they would give the NDC a subvention. And when the Buxton Falls NDC on several occasions proposed to use their subvention to construct a new NDC office, The Minister of Local Government consistently denied them the right to do that. Consistently denied them the right to do that. And so David Jones is one of the persons who sat in that position of chairmanship and is quite aware of that history. Disappointed me when he got there and talking about PPP rescuing Buxton. Total disappointment. Because you see, when we don't present history the way it is, or it has been, then the next generation doesn't get an understanding of how we are, where we are right now. And for me, it was a glorious opportunity to teach a young Buxtonians because a set of them turned out there in the name of the PPP. A set of them turned out there in the name of the PPP. So you had an opportunity to set the records right so they don't walk away and say, oh Lord, the APNU and this body and that body been in power all them years and they never make an attempt to fix the market for we and the PPP really rescue we. You had an opportunity to set the record straight. You had an opportunity to talk about it. Multiple approaches that were made to the PPP to fix the market. That doesn't mean that when you don't tell them, they ain't going to say, well, here we are eventually. A man like me, I probably would have quoted the years that approaches were made to the central government to have the market fixed and then say, listen, it took all of this year, but here we are today, and we are grateful that finally we're going to get our market replaced, renovated, a brand new market, whatever you want to call it. But you cannot leave out all of that history of you approaching the PPP as central government to have the market redone. And they refused. Every effort you made, they turned down. You got to set the history right. And that is why I'm as pissed as I am. I'm as disappointed as I am. And I say, even if it means I got to take the whole program today to clarify that, I want to clarify. I don't know how many of them youngsters who've been there singing the praises of the PPP gonna listen. But I'm correcting an anomaly, correcting a mistake made by our elders, correcting a mistake made by our leaders. Unless we set the record straight, nobody else has the interest in setting that record straight. And based on the history that our people know or learn or are told of, they will make decisions based on that. So eventually, we had a new edifice. Randolph Blair. I think it was under Randolph Blair's chairmanship that new NDC office was started. I don't think it was completed under his chairmanship, but I know it was definitely started under his chairmanship. So kudos to Randolph Blair. I don't know what he did or how he eventually got the money to start it. But it was started on his chairmanship. I'm sure it was started on his chairmanship. We have to understand we have a responsibility. Not only to pass the baton to the next generation, but in passing that baton, we must ensure that they have a clear understanding of where they're coming from. So they could decide how to chart the course to the next, what they call it, plateau, the next stop. Good. It's 9 o'clock. Right on the ball. I'm going to open up the lines for a few minutes, sorry. It's Friday, I gotta go in my kitchen and so on and so forth. But let's see what we can do with 15, 20 minutes, assuming that you folks, and it slipped out of my mouth there, you people. Seriously, Bascom, I pass people to be standing at the head table to look at residents of this neighborhood and address them as you people. You understand? It is disrespectful to address the residents of this neighborhood or anybody as a matter of fact, you people. But I guess it's in the DNA of the people that follow the PPP. Call you on. Good morning.
Morning to that, people. Morning. Thanks for your history lesson this morning. It is important that we know our history. It's important that we know where we come from so that we know how to plot our course going forward. Yeah. I want to say something outside of the history lesson this morning, something that I think all of us should pay attention to. Um, if you look and see what's going on here with a certain congressman that everybody loved because of a certain influencer that got a lot of people to fall in love with, right? And thinking that he is the savior or the channel to the ears in US government as our savior, what he did. And I'm going to say it, I'm going to call name this morning, Hakeem Jeffries. The man who everybody think that this man will do the work for we, the black people in Guyana. Right? Look what he has done. Show his support. Full support behind Israel. Right now he's being chewed up by our people here. And I've been saying this to people that do not trust any congressman, any senator, none of them, because what they need to stay in government is money. And the people with the money, they will sing to those people tune, right? Um, and he has done it. Everyone thought that this influencer, this Guyanese influencer, who chummy with him, gonna go to church and all kind of thing, right? That this man got our back. This man is nothing more than a coconut, a roast breadfruit, a Uncle Tom. That is who he is. He has sold, our soul is sold out to the devil, as far as I'm concerned. And our people still think that this is our savior. We even got people right there in Guyana who chumming up. You understand? Political leaders there who chumming up with these fancy people, right? And think that these people are gonna come and save us. You're always running around taking out picture here and picture there with them and meeting with this diplomat, that diplomat, and coming to meet with this. Those people don't have our interests at heart. It's all about the dollar. It's all about what they got to get, not ours. Just remember that. And I always say, and I said it on this show before, that this place is run by the OGCFC, meaning owners and controllers of global financial capital. And he is singing to those people tune. So unless Guyanese get up and do what we got to do, don't think that America coming to save us. Don't think that America is going to come to save us. Look and see how these guys move. Look and see how these guys move. To the other fella that has caused you Guyanese to be lazy and thinking that America gonna come and save us, Biden gonna come and save us, Hakeem Jeffries gonna come and save us. Hell no, it ain't happening. That's all I have to say this morning.
Thank you, caller. Call you on. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. First thing first, Flash is responsible for what he say, not how you guys interpret. Let me give you credit first before I move on for this morning message. I do hope boxing people listen to this program and bring a change for them children and for them life. Because that, from a little boy growing up, boxing was always the strongest village on the East Coast. It is not too late for you to do the right thing. Continue. Let box people know. Something is bothering Flash Garden when I was in Guyana for a couple of days. What I observed, look, listen, learn, and then this morning I'm going to run my mouth. But first of all, let me call two names to come in front of the class, Mr. Amsterdam class this morning. MP Campbell, Mr. Campbell, let me address him right. Mr. Campbell and Mr. Dr. Todd, come in front of the class. It is time for the MPs them, leave out the female. It is time for the MPs them fetch the burden, fetch them cross for young people. The cross, what I'm talking about, what I observe, that every contract in Guyana, you don't even see at least 2 black men or black women working on non-contract. It is time for you to step up at your game with this nonsense, what you are doing. Program, listening, and going for another program, talking. It is time for, let me advise you to what to do. Organize and get these young people who is not working them on the street doing nothing. Organize a system that you guys could pick them up and go in front. Any construction job, road, building, school building, hotel building, and demand that Guyanese must get 50% of them. It is time for you to do that nonsense. I love what Mr. David I said. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. Mr. David I said, Amanda, it's not too wrong for spread your love, but do it across the board. Do it for black people too. And it's not only time when the police them done wrong thing and shoot our black brothers them wrongfully, then you go support. No, it's bigger than that. And you got to organize yourself and go up on every job site and make sure black people get job. It is ridiculous what Flat Garden observe. And on the East Coast there with that road building, I ain't seen not one black. It's Spanish and Chinese. That nonsense have to stop. The constitution going to represent the MPs them. And you have power just like the president. Because I just make law and you only have to sign it into action. It is time for MP do something, man, for young people, man. Coming on program. It cannot work. Turn the next page. Young people need job in them country, and job is there. And again, to all the parents them, yes, they rob our children in the combination examination. But listen to me, a man that fight and one shall fight another day. You see, January come, all parents, father, step up your game and make sure your children have every tools for the next combination. It must be the other way around. Black people must be 15 and 16 in that 20. I know they rob us, our children, just how they rob Abinati and give them 12. Because they rob us, there's no way. My son made for 14, them give him for 14. Point something. But I accept and bless. But I know he was being robbed. It is time for black people to step up. Are you giving your children education? Them start from young people, children, black people, children start for suck salt. It's all about dominate and keep black man at the bottom. And I'm starting with our children, our future. And it's time for the MPs them make sure Guyanese get job in the country. At least 75 or 50% black men and black women must get a job. And I'm calling upon Dr. Todd and Mr. Campbell, spread your love across the road. Look those young people who not getting job. What I observe before me go, I walk Georgetown and I walk these coasts and acknowledge. If you see the people I'm going home from work every evening and going to work every morning, and you hardly see black man. What is it? Where are the representatives for step up them game and make sure go up on every work site and protest MPs and demand job for these people? Them demand job for tradesman and for porter. Is enough job for everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. I love you all.
Thank you for your call. You know, as I go through the comments, I see a Vinod. Most likely Vinod is one of the PPP or slave. One of the PPP trolls asking why I didn't talk about the 2015 to 2020 period of the David Granger government. I addressed that. I gave my fellow Buxtonian Raquel Gentle a good tongue licking for suggesting that the market should have been built under Granger. I spent my time and I went through the years, the budgetary years of the PPP and the Granger government. And I concluded that when the budgets were in the billions, in the millions, in the billions. No, we're doing $1 billion budget now, right? While budgets were in the millions, trillions and so on, the PPP refused to do the boxing market. But they were doing Lusignan for 2 and 3 times. I mean, Monaco. Not until they started doing $1 billion budgets. This might be what the second or third $1 billion budget. Not until they started doing $1 billion budgets did they eventually come around to Buxton market. And so if you look at the budgets under the APNU versus the budgets under the PPP, you'll see PPP has always had, well, in that time, PPP had bigger budgets than the APNU, but they never did the market. And so to argue that the APNU that effectively was in government, or was in government effectively for about 3 years, because remember the China National Confidence Motion. How do you expect the government to settle enough to even consider building a market in 3 years, given their budgetary constraints and all of that? If you're arguing that they could have built the market, given the fact that Gaisuko was demanding millions or trillions, whatever, to stay afloat from the day the APNU went into office, along with all of the other court rulings that they had to find money to pay and so on and so forth. If you're arguing that in that short period of 3 to 5 years, they could have done the boxing market, I would say you're unfair. That's all I would say. You're unfair. What I can tell you is that they did not contribute to the destruction of the Buxtonian economy, but they made efforts to improve, to resurrect, if you want me to say that, the Buxtonian economy. Call them to hold your line. Because under the RAID program, they provided support to clear the Buxton backlands and prepare it for the farmers so that they can return to the backlands. That was a good start for me. They had on the cards to upgrade at least one of the roads to an all-weather road or first a fair-weather road and then an all-weather road. I, along with others, walked along with Raphael Trotman and checked all 3 companies, Sideline and Middlewalk, to determine which one would have been most suitable. So I know what I'm talking about. So they were making efforts to resurrect the village economy, if I can call it that the PPP destroyed. And before I answer this caller, the PPP representative caller, I'll take a call as usual. Robert Prasad was the Minister of Agriculture. When they sent in heavy machinery and graded down the Buxton backland, all of the permanent crops, and when I talk about permanent crops, I'm talking about the good Buxton spice mango, the long mangoes, I'm talking about star apple, I'm talking about abe. We had abe plants at the back there. Every single one of the permanent crops. Robert Prasad oversaw the grading down and destruction of, in the name of clearing lands to search for criminals. Caller, you may speak.
Good morning, Brother Amsterdam. And thank you for taking my call this morning. On Brother Amsterdam, on behalf of the people of Buxton, I want to thank you for your relentless call for a market in Buxton. Buxton is finally receiving a state-of-the-art facility for the market vendors. I want to thank you for getting that for them. You've been calling for this for years, and finally it coming to come. But you know what? You know, you start condemning a thing. You finally get what you want, and now you condemn all kind of thing you're coming up with. Anyway, on your analysis on the 2020 jailbreak, that the 2002 jailbreak, sorry. Um, I didn't think you're going to get any points this morning or win any votes because your source could have gone to the authorities during the APNU tenure in office and give a detailed statement and document that. Why your source didn't do that? But now your source coming out, I can still go to the police and file charges against people who were involved. If you were saying the government was involved in that, he can do that right now. It's not too late. And anyway, Mr. Amsterdam, thank you for taking my call, and you have a blessed rest of the day and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
I guess we just a friend ain't got much to say this morning because the reality is, I am different. You don't give me nothing to shut my mouth. Yeah, I believe that my relentless call for a quality market in boxing is what resulted in that structure that they unveiled. Because remember the first offer, as far as I know, the first draft of a plan for the Buxton market, I'm telling you, I saw that myself. Was a one flat market with I think 70 stars measuring 8 by 10. Because the draftsman at the time said when he drew it at 10 by 10, it couldn't accommodate the 72 persons or so who had to get stalls for starters. And so they reduced it to 8 by 10. And so when Priya said that the market is now an elevated market, meaning it has 2 levels, and it is going to cater, I think, for 136 stalls, one of the things she hasn't said, and one of the things I still need to know, is the size of this stall. What is the size of the 136 stalls that will be accommodated in that market? I need to know that. I need to know, for example, because the first proposal was just to provide a space, and if stall holders wanted it enclosed, they had to do it themselves. I want to know from Priya whether or not these 136 stalls that she's talking about will be enclosed by the $388 million that the market will cost. So don't tell me that you got a market that you're calling for all the time and now you're criticizing it. I'm calling for them to bear it all. Late before the people of Buxton, we only see the artist's impression of what it will be. Show us the floor plan. We want to see the floor plan. I want to see the floor plan. You see, nobody can lead me by my nose because despite the fact I'm from Buxton background side, I'm learned. I'm learned, as we like to say. I got education and I just use it. Not because I'm hungry, you're going to come and put a stinkfish on my plate and I'm going to praise you because you put a stinkfish on my plate for I eat. I'm going to tell you that the fish stink. I'm going to take your backside and pass me. Not because I'm hungry or me the bad, you will disrespect me by giving me a stinkfish. Some of y'all just take it and stuff it like my friend. Call you on, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Kadaki and our viewers. Listening to this program, everything that you said is so true. And that speaker that talked just now, that person, talking about the market in Buxton. How much money the president paid to plant those grass along the Muburu Road that come from Brazil? If you all go up there right now, you are going to see how this grass growing healthy, looking like every shell out. Millions of dollars, they bring that grass for more than what paying for build Buxton Market. The grass is like 2 miles away from a Burgundy building on the Muburu Road, a Burgundy shop. If you are go there right now, you are going to see the amount of grass that the government paid to plant those grass there and bring them from Brazil by the truckload, those long truck. If you see grass go right now, you're going to see the grass, them growing right there. This is when it's going to cut grass to feed the cows. Go right now on Muburu Road, yeah, I would see the grass. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's a contributor saying that taxpayers' money planting grass here for Nali cows. But y'all didn't know though. Huh? Y'all didn't know though. According to Anil, if I was a farmer since 20 years ago, he'd be selling juice. But the question is, oh, you got this farm 20 years ago and you're selling juice and you ain't got no, as we say, bearing fruit trees. Oh, show me your suppliers.
Arriving in the UK from Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, or elsewhere. Start your journey with ease and comfort by choosing first-class travel service, one of UK's leading providers of premium airport transfers. Enjoy a smooth, stress-free arrival by booking your comfortable and reliable airport taxi before you arrive. With affordable rates and exceptional service, we cover all major UK airports, including Heathrow, Gatwick, Manchester, Birmingham, and many more. Wherever you land, we guarantee a seamless door-to-door experience to and from any UK airport. For your peace of mind, all our drivers are fully DBS checked and cleared, ensuring a safe and trustworthy service from the moment you arrive. Our friendly staff will meet and greet you in the airport arrival hall, assist with your luggage, and escort you to one of our luxurious vehicles. So wait no longer. We're ready to look after you from the moment you arrive in the UK. You can contact us via email info@firstclasstravelservice.co.uk, office phone +4 4195 2287 176, WhatsApp +4 479 136 0576 5 or +4 479 009 50171. Or simply fill in our request, a quote form, at www.firstclasstravelservice.co.uk. Travel with confidence. Travel first class.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Granville Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
From Paparino streets of birth to Coretis for sons, where children pledge each faithful night to guard Guyana's lands, to find the
Emancipation is fast approaching. Check out H&E collections for all of your African prints and emancipation wear. Right? You can call Helen on 622-0748. 622-0748 is the number to call Helen on.
Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning to your viewers and your listeners. Kadaki, I noticed they're building a market for Buxton. Hope that they don't build like what you want when they build at Islington. Hope that they get the facilities like when they get that on the schools, Monrepon and Lusipan area. Put a building to the standard. You know, that we substandard thing. The next thing that they're talking about empowerment. The market and so on is to empower them people. Because they get the market, they get the vendors and all the other stuff, the hospital, everything there. And you check them who employ them. Most of them people, because they're giving them a black bag and rice farmer and a sugar worker. Who the rice farmer, who the sugar worker? All them get money. You know, all them get money from the cover, so they don't know vote.
Thank you for that voice note. It's 25 minutes past the 9 o'clock. I gotta go. I have to go, otherwise I will be running later than I should. But the one thing I want to say in closing, When construction such as the market is taking place in communities, it is supposed to create jobs for the people who live in the neighborhood. The minister and so on will argue that, hey, we can't tell the contractor who to employ. Right? We can't tell the contractor who to employ. What I'm sure is government, because I know it is done in other places, provisions can be made for the contractor to dedicate at least, let me say, 10% of his unskilled labor force to hiring people from the community. I'm looking to see how many Buxtonians will be hired on that project. I want to play the race card according to them. Because when I looked at the consultant, I saw Indo-Guyanese. When I look at the contractor, I saw Indo-Guyanese. So the entire technical build-up, if I can call it that, doing a market in an Afro-Guyanese community, or predominantly Afro-Guyanese community, don't look like the Afro-Guyanese. Right? It also is another question, given the fact when I look at the consultant, she looks like a young Indian girl. Or lady, let me call her thing. Where are our Afro-Guyanese consultants? I remember Phyllis. You know Phyllis, the name Phyllis Bacchus. I remember Phyllis Bacchus. Didn't any of our children take up the consultancy business? Don't we have consultants looking like us in Buxton and other communities and so on, or across the country? If we don't have, it is time we start identifying some of our people and send them to learn quantity surveying. I think it is quantity surveying, among other things, so that they too can become consultants. I know they're going to become consultants under the PPP, but eventually maybe we will get consultants. I'll have a good day. I hope, I'm looking at the numbers, still looking. I should feel in my heart that I have not wasted your time this morning. I don't ever come here to waste time or waste your time. Education is important. And I'm saying again, if you have an interest in Buxton, whether as a leader among the Buxtonian community or something to do with Buxton, and you want to speak on behalf of Buxton, at least grab a copy of this book. UC GUYANESE Buxton Friendship in Print and Memory. It will give you a good journey through the years of Buxton as a resilient community. Please do. Please do. It will save you a lot of embarrassing moments, let me call them that. Because I'm going to speak out to turn and then I come and rant and rave. Because unlike some people, I pay attention to our history. Y'all have a good day. Much love. Tough love is love too. Remember, 31st of July, Black is Beautiful is happening in Buxton. We'll talk more about that maybe next week as we get closer. Now, Raquel, you're asking me again. Raquel, you like young students who like teachers beat you. For the 100th time, the book is Buxton Friendship in Print and Memory by UC GUYANESE. Let me put it in the chat. Good. I looked on Amazon this morning to see if they had a soft copy there, and I couldn't find it. And so I think one of the challenge and one of my recommendations for those who are listening and might have the authority to, I think efforts should be made to put this book on Amazon. Right? Buxton Friendship in Print and Memory efforts should be made to put it on Amazon. This book was printed by the Red Thread Press, if I remember clearly. Karen D'Souza and the other ladies over at Red Thread Press. Layout and printed by Red Thread Press and Publishing Unit. They were at 173 Charlotte Street at that time, a building I know as perhaps belonging to Jocelyn Dow at the time, right? But yes, Red Thread Press. So those who have the authority, I am suggesting that the book be placed on Amazon. Y'all have a good day. Stay focused, stay safe. And remember, tough love is love too.